Everybody, welcome back to the channel. Been a little while since you last saw us. Been a little while since we went racing as well. Last time I was out was in the Fiesta at Knock Hill, and it went something like this. So what I've done is I've built a 2 litre car, mainly because Big Neil has also built a 2 litre car. So we're out racing together for the first time ever, which is going to be really exciting. We're at Lydden Hill, it's in the sunshine, and I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be interesting, 12 cars on the grid, but we'll see how we get on. Let's have a chat with Big Neil, find out what he makes of it. Old man?
Yep,
what do you reckon? What are your chances today in your Clio?
Who knows? We'll suck it and see, like my mint.
Yeah. So, sorry, I didn't mean as we were eating at the time.
Yeah.
Lovely. And whoever loses pays for the curry later, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, it's a bit of squeaky bum a moment ago. It turns out, when I took it out from the scrutineer and I left the, I forgot to turn the kill switch off, so the fuel pump's been going. Hence why the battery was dead. That's a bugger, isn't it? Could have got a booster pack. You can hear it, listen.
Yeah, look, the battery light's on, look.
Yeah.
Anyway, so heading out onto the track for the first time, and I thought I'd gotten away with it and would be able to get some meaningful running in practice. However, after half a lap, it became clear that I hadn't gotten away with it at all. The car cut out, and I had to pull off to the inside of the circuit just before the Devil's Elbow, so no laps at all in practice.
Well, practice was a disaster. That didn't work out at all. Basically, my fault. We went to scrutineering this morning, and I didn't turn the cut-off switch off, so the fuel pump on this runs on the battery, and it didn't obviously stop running because the battery was still going, so the battery was dead, and it didn't have enough charge to keep going basically, so we had to boost it on the grid, and then it must have gone into like a limp home, sort of get me safely back mode, because it was only running on what felt like 2 cylinders at one point. It wasn't giving me anything above sort of 1500 RPM. The old man's car seemed to go all right, and he seemed to get on fine. So yeah, just got to hope for a better run when we get onto the grid for that first race. What are you expecting? Any thoughts? Your second row, I think?
Yeah, don't know, just go out and have fun, isn't it? That's what it's about.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why you do it.
Yeah, I'm at the back of the grid on the inside, so I've got a bit of work to do, and obviously we're out of the Swifts as well. So.
Yeah, so it'll be quite nippy.
Yeah,
so.
right, let's get going, get onto the track, shall we?
Despite practice not going brilliantly, I was looking forward to going racing with Dad for the first time, so let's head onto the track for our first ever race together in the BTRDA Clubman's Rallycross Championship. We'll watch the start of this one from Dad's perspective on board. Alex Fletcher on the left-hand side in the black and green Civic. Martin Peters in the 1600cc Saxo directly ahead. Good start from Dad. He drags ahead of Martin, then down towards the first corner, onto the gravel into Talladega. A little bit tentative on the brakes. That allows Mark Henry to go around his outside and Martin to just get ahead. You can see me in the bright blue machine lurking there in the background. Over through to the jump we go for the first time. Dad sitting in 4th place. Bit of a snap of oversteer, but nicely held for him so far. Off the jump though is where things started to go wrong for me. The front right shock seized as I landed. First time ever, of course, racing this car at Lydden Hill. No laps in practice, and from there it was an uphill struggle because I had a very ill handling car and of course no suspension on the front right at all, so it was a bit like a space hopper really. Anyway, out of the hairpin we go. Look at Dad, he's making a move here on 2 cars, Mark Henry and Martin Peters, down towards the bottom bend. They both go Joker. That releases Dad into a nice bit of clear air, so his next target will be Alex Fletcher, who's leading the race as he comes over the curb. All looking pretty good for Dad so far, nice and up to racing speed now. This is his second time racing this car actually. He drove it at Blyton Park actually earlier on this season and did pretty well, finished on the podium. So expectations were pretty high for him, despite the fact that the car hadn't actually been mapped, so it was running a little bit rich, not quite getting the amount of power out of the car that he would have liked. Anyway, up the hill he comes, nice and clean and calm for him. A good gap behind as well, courtesy of the 2 drivers in front who went for the Joker. And he's just driving really, really nicely at this point, his Dad. Meanwhile, I am fighting my way through the field, or trying to at least. You can see a couple of the Swifts have made their way ahead of me as Dad follows Alex into the Joker. Will Ovenden also in the red Swift going through as well. Meanwhile, I am languishing down in about 6th place at this point, soon to be 5th because one of the Swifts goes into the Joker. Mark Henry also dropping back in his Alfa 147 you just saw in the background there, courtesy of a engine related problem, and you can see on board just how much I'm struggling with the car. It's banging around like nobody's business. To be honest with you, it was almost undrivable, but I thought try and get to the end of the race because you never know what may happen. Rallycross is a really funny sport, and if you can just get to the checkered flag, points will be pretty important at the end of the day. Anyway, at the sharp end of the field, Dad is now right on the back of Alex for the race lead. Coming up into the North Bend, goes for that wider outside line to try and get the switchback on the inside. Alex has got it covered though, and one of the strengths of that Civic is in a straight line. So down to the bottom bend for the final time. Alex still leading, Dad very close behind in second position. A great race from him in Heat 1 as he would come home to claim a podium finish and some good points. I, though, meanwhile, was back in 5th place with my fillings being rattled out and dealing with a very bouncy Honda Civic.
Right, first heat done. As you can probably tell by the fact that the car's up on a jack and that we didn't finish very well, that didn't go too well for me, mainly because I came off the jump the first time and the front right spring collapsed. Yeah, it's not proven to be my day so far. I must have walked under a couple of step ladders or something like that. Disappointing for me. Really good for Dad though. I think he was second in the end, which is really, really strong. So very proud of him. Did very, very well. We'll try and see if we can get this fixed and report back to you with an update at some point. Get to it.
So all action stations with the car then, not quite the same conditions as he's got with the ramp at Brooks Restorations, unfortunately. However, I'm very thankful for Alex Fletcher, who races the other Civic in the production class. He lent us his spare shocks. Though they were only road-going ones, they were better than nothing, and it was better than having my fillings rattled out. I'd love to have helped out at this point, but Dad and Wayne had it all covered, and to be honest, as you well know by now, I'm not the most mechanically minded, and I'd have probably ended up fitting it in upside down.
I think you've done it in record time.
Yeah, well, you've got one standard shot, one coilover, so it could be interesting.
Let's talk about your first heat. You got on pretty well.
Yeah, finished P2, had a good battle with Alex for the lead.
I was 5th, I think, over the line because battling that, and I missed the gear coming out the hairpin.
Yeah, you got car excuses.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I couldn't get third gear sometimes.
Did you not? No, well, it wasn't quite a shot going though, was it?
So then time to go for Heat 2 alongside Dad for the start of this one. Make a good start and drag ahead of him in the Clio. Alex away like a stabbed rat from the inside of the front row as he ascends his way into the lead. I slot into second through Talladega, just cutting the nose of Dad off. I did think about giving him a little bit more room, but we weren't too close. Anyway, off the jump for the first time, heading into the Devil's Elbow. Now this is my first time turning left with the stock suspension on the right hand side, and I run it wide because there's a fair bit more understeer and body roll than I had been used to up until that point. That allowed Dad to sneak through on the inside. I did think about diving through at the hairpin, but to be honest, I paid a lot of money to get these cars wrapped and I didn't fancy having to get that replaced after a couple of corners. Anyway, Dad then set off in his pursuit of Alex for the lead once again as Dan Griffiths went into the Joker in my old Citroen C2, if you remember that from a few years ago. I sit in a very distant 3rd place after a bit of a bad landing off of the jump there, and are still struggling to get adapted to the car. It took the best part of the whole heat to really figure out the right driving style, and it left me prone to attack. The top two of Alex and Dad going through down the bottom bend. I then go into the Joker, and here's where my race comes unravelled. Too much speed into the first part, missed the first wall, and then whack, straight into the second wall, off into the gravel, and then I picked up a 10-second penalty for my troubles, as if that wasn't enough to add insult to injury. So that left me languishing down in about 6th place, and having damage to my car, which didn't affect the handling of it, thankfully. However, I would eventually be classified in 9th position. Dad, meanwhile, was right on the coattails of Alex for the race lead. He would eventually come home in second. Once again, a good points haul for him in the second heat. I would be classified in 9th position after that 10-second penalty, giving me a fair bit of work to do and a bit of soul searching ahead of Q3.
Well, that went tremendously, as you can probably tell. It's good, isn't it? Yeah.
Wasn't me.
Went too fast into the Joker. Missed the first wall, but had too much speed, couldn't avoid the second wall, so that went well. What did you do? Where did you finish? Second?
Well, the old man can still pedal, so it shows something, doesn't it?
Well, yeah. Third heat's the important one, try and go out there and qualify. Well, the only thing I'm worried about is, if you can see there, there's all the belts and stuff, and obviously there's a lot of rocks and gravel and all that crap flying up, so might see if we can get something to cover that, bit of plastic or something maybe, just to try and protect it a bit from the elements.
Time for Heat 3 then, from the head of the second row of the grid for myself, and if I do say so, I got an absolute textbook start and launched my way through into 3rd place by the first corner. Dad was on the front row of the grid and slotted into second behind Alex as we now cross on board with him. Through Talladega, then we flick it left over the jump for the first time. Dad again all over the back of Alex, as had been the story throughout the entirety of the day, and I wondered if he might be able to challenge him for the race lead in this one, as I kept a watching brief on proceedings. Realistically, given the problems I'd faced throughout the day, it wasn't going to be likely for me to challenge for the victory, so it was just a case of damage limitation and getting as strong a result as I could after a challenging first couple of heats. Over the jump though, Dad right on the back of Alex here, and into the Devil's Elbow. He closes up on the brakes but misses a gear, can't find any gears. Something's gone wrong with his Clio. Sounds like it was the gear linkage by his reckoning after the race, and he then dropped right back down the field as I made my way up through into second and the prevailing field went on through. Dad would eventually have to drive the rest of the race in third gear, having no other forward propulsion at all, so he was at a real hindrance in the slower corners. I meanwhile just wanted to get my head down and drive as good a race as I possibly could. I hadn't had a clean run in Q1 or Q2, so just wanted to try and put in some consistent laps and see what pace I had against Alex and the rest of the field. You can see Will Ovenden in the red Swift is right over the back of me now, and as we come through to the Devil's Elbow, he's looking for a way through up the top of the hill. I of course have got greater power. I'm in a 2-litre car, he's in a 1600. I can see him there looking for the move on the outside as Dad manages to get his way through on my old C2 driven by Dan Griffiths. Up ahead you can still see Will Ovenden pressuring me, and I knew that Will was going to try and make a move on me before too long, so I decided quite sneakily to go into the Joker at the end of this lap, which boxed out Will and left him no choice but to sit in my wheel tracks for the rest of the lap, and no way through for him as Dad came through having not taken the Joker at this point, I should say. I go through having taken the Joker into second place. That just shows how much time Dad has lost courtesy of his sticky gearbox in this third heat. It really was, again, a case of damage limitation for him, but it was quite useful for me because it kept Will off of my back for a lap or so. You see Dad there does try to have a look on the inside into the Devil's Elbow, but nothing doing for him. It was great to be in close competition with my dad though. You can see up the top of the hill, this is where he's going to struggle though coming out of it, because he's in third gear and has just got no drive, no torque down low, and that's where Will is going to have more drive and more of an opportunity to get past, and indeed he does on the exit of the North Bend. That releases him to go through into third place overall as Dad then cuts into the Joker. At the checkered flag, I would be classified in second to take my first podium finish of the day, which I was absolutely delighted with, and Dad did an amazing salvage job to come home in fourth position.
Well, that's a bit more like it. Second place for me in that heat. Very happy with that. Not so good for the old man, as you can probably see with his legs behind me. He lost all gears but third and fourth, so when he had the revs up, he was fine. I noticed when he came up the hill, I thought it had jumped out of gear, because he said that when he put it in third, it kept jumping out. As it turns out, something's gone wrong with the linkage, so he's trying to fix it hurriedly for the final later on. But yeah, unfortunately cost him positions and points in that race, so I'll have to have a look at the standings and see where he sits. He was second overall. I don't think I'll be able to get ahead of him in the points, but I think I'll be a lot closer than I was.
Good racing otherwise though, you were right up my arse at one point, at my turn.
Yeah, happy with that. Much more like it. I'm a lot more pumped up after that third race. Nice to have some adrenaline and a positive result after what's been a challenging day, to put it mildly.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, an absolute treat for you here. 2 championships in one. We have got the 5 Nations BRX Swifts, and we've got the BTRDA production class as well. And well, we have even more of a treat. We have Tom Brooks, who used to be the commentator for BRX, and we have his dad on the grid as well. His dad's in the middle, and Tom Brooks on the right-hand side of your screens in P3. On pole position, it is Alex Fletcher. We are off, and we are indeed running. We are green light racing down towards Talladega, down towards turn number 1. We will go through Talladega, around the outside for Tom Brooks. Can he make it sticky? Unfortunately, cannot. Battle of the Civics. Ooh, Brooks nearly getting it all wrong there. What a recovery that was. As we head then through, for the first time, the Devil's Elbow. Everybody in pretty good formation. No one's making a big mistake as of yet. There's Neil Brooks then, Tom Brooks' father. So not only are they battling for the race victory, but they're battling for family honours as we come through the North Bend for the very first time. As we come down towards the paddock bend. Oh, there's a red flag, that's late. Oh, wow. That could have been really bad. Tom there not seeing that quickly. And that is why we have a red flag then. So the number 66 there is Scott Parker, with the front right not facing the right direction. Right, restart time then. Pole position for Alex Fletcher. Neil Brooks in second. Tom Brooks in third. Dan Griffiths, Martin Peters, and Richard Maroney make up your production class. Final as we see Peters getting across there. Chris Cake's car and nearly facing the wrong way. Then in the battle battle of the Brooks in the family is leading his dad as it stands. So they're not only battling for the win, they're battling for family honours. And I guess who's going to drive home tonight? Well, there's a move. There's an absolute send down towards the paddock bend. And wow, the father taking on the son. They're side by side as they go through the chicane. And there is absolutely no love lost between them. Brilliantly done there from Neil Brooks. Does get the job done. But Thomas was never going to back out of that. Not in a million years. Down towards the Devil's Elbow. And can Brooks make his way up towards Brooks? Can Tom Brooks make his way up towards Neil Brooks? It doesn't look like he can, because Will Ovenden actually does get ahead here up towards the North Bend. I think Tom might be in a little bit of trouble here. Looks like there might be an issue with the car. That is very, very unfortunate. And yet that is going to be race over there for Tom. There was a lovely battle between him and his dad, and I'm sure that they will have a little discussion about that over a nice cold beer later on. But ultimately, Neil Brooks is off to chase down the leader. Sweeping then through Talladega. I tell you what, Neil Brooks is catching up here for certain. Alex Fletcher under all sorts of pressure. Over the jump we come. And again, pushing the boundaries there in the Honda Civic. But look how close now the Renault Clio is. As we head then through the Devil's Elbow, up towards the North Bend. Who's got the most grunt? There's nothing between these two. Battling for the race victory. Through the North Bend they come, and now it's down Hairy Hill. Struggling for a bit of traction on the front left there. Definitely a bit of rubbing on the archway. Both of them taking the same line. Over the start-finish line. Big jump there from Neil Brooks. He's pushing. But it looks like Alex Fletcher may have just found another gear. And there is the Joker being taken by Neil Brooks. And I wonder if Neil's decided, you know what? There's an opportunity that the leader's going to catch up to a back marker here and get slowed down. So we are on the last lap. So the Joker will have to be taken by Alex Fletcher this time round. So you know Fletcher's going to be able to go flat out down in towards the Joker. I don't think he's going to lose any time at all, actually. So there we go, Joker taken. And where is Neil Brooks in all of this? Will Alex Fletcher take the victory? He absolutely will. Brooks not quite close enough. Oh, I'll tell you what, he went flat out over the jump at the end there. Wow. We've had red flags, we've had battle of the family, but ultimately the driver that came out on top, Alex Fletcher. What a ridiculous race that was. Brilliant stuff.
That was such a shame, but so fucking brilliant at the same time.
You're seriously out of shape.
What's that?
Your car's sideways.
Yeah, I know. I was flat out, wasn't I? Well, what happened to me essentially was I came out of the hairpin, missed a gear, tried for third, couldn't get it, and then couldn't get it revving past 4,000. We had a bit of contact going into that last corner as well, didn't we?
Yeah, a bit of rubbing, yeah. Bit of a kamikaze move, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, it was good. It was good. Good laugh. Well, there we go. That's the end of the day. You did exceptionally well. Well done. I think we're going to get to the podium ceremony, so let's see what trophies we get.
Class, his first start in the car, Tom Brooks. Second in class is Dad Neil Brooks.
So there we go then. A really good end to a challenging, trying, but also exhilarating and fun day. So yeah, really enjoyed it here at Lydden Hill. Great to be back racing Rallycross, and just meant to be racing with the old man, to be honest with you. Memories, you know, memories that will last a lifetime. I like that.